Good evening. This is a meeting of the Township Committee, January 23rd, 2014. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the Two River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk on January 10th, 2014. Committeeman Fiore.
Here.
Committeeman Cassell.
Here.
Committeeman Sharp.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Senabrino.
Here.
Mayor Murray. Here. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide, defending our freedoms, constitutions, and way of life. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we have an introduction of proposed ordinance 2014-3101, ordinance amending the ordinance summer recreation fees.
Motion to introduce.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Cassell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpler.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Senabrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held February 18, 2014. Our next item on tonight's agenda, we have a consent agenda, which would include resolutions 14-66 through 14-80, including bingo and raffles and volunteer firefighter applications. And, 14-74 has been removed.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Cassell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpler.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Senabrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt consent agenda. At this time, we have resolution 14-65, a resolution authorizing payment of bills for January 2014.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Cassell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpler.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Senabrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt resolution 14-65. This time, we have Township Committee comments.
Okay. Committeeman Cassell.
Just very briefly, I just want to congratulate the administration and our DPW the way they handled the storm we had this week. It was a great job, and thank you. That's it.
Committeeman Fiore.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things this evening. One, actually make it three. I echo my colleague, Committeeman Cassell, in terms of the storm plow operation by the DPW and all of our emergency responders, police, and everyone involved for taking care of it and doing a great job with the come out of the blue snowstorm this week. And one of the other things I wanted to mention with regards to that is again a thank you to public information and administration for getting out as many updates to give timely updates. And I know that's something that we continue to strive for, and it's something that I think as each passing weather event we get better and better, and we will continue to improve on that. So thank you for that. Two other quick things. One, I read a report in the Star Ledger. I guess there was a survey of the safest communities in the state of New Jersey, and the 50 safest communities to live in. And Middletown was indeed on that list as one of the 50 safest communities to live in the state of New Jersey. So a testament to our police force and to our residents, our neighborhood watch groups, and everyone associated as Mayor Scharfenberger in the past, myself, and many mayors in the past have said, we have probably one of the smallest police forces, if not the smallest per capita, and to have such great results and again, another testament to their fine work from the administration, the police administration on down. So wanted to make sure that was properly recognized, despite the fact that we sometimes read some other types of articles in certain periodicals. Also, in one of those periodicals, or one of those news outlets, actually had another study which rated Middletown one of the largest safe cities in terms of least amount of violent crime and things of that nature. And I think we were number 4 on that list, and by far on that list, one of the largest municipalities. So again, another validation and testament to our wonderful police force and everybody here in the town that is so vigilant. Finally, just an update on FEMA, where I will be attending a meeting with the administration with regards to FEMA, the flood maps, the North Middletown flood maps that you've probably heard me speak about. You've seen the committee pass resolutions about. That resolution that we passed a few months ago, we actually were getting requests all over the country for copies of that resolution from Connecticut and South. So other municipalities, not only in New Jersey, that actually, that resolution went nationwide. So tomorrow we will try to have a further update. We will work with FEMA. We will not stop until those flood maps and those flood rates are addressed, especially for an area like North Middletown, which has some level of flood mitigation through the pump station, through the dike system, and is not properly being addressed. So more to come on that. And finally, when it comes to FEMA, a lot has been made, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, with respect to claims that municipalities have made with respect to Superstorm Sandy and FEMA allocations. And look, Middletown was one of the most affected communities, much more affected than a town like Hoboken, which is getting $70 million, requested $140 of $300 million. But the fact that they got 70, I find, is extremely questionable when towns like Middletown and Highlands and Atlantic Highlands haven't come even close to having that level of hazard mitigation promised to them. So I would like to see a further investigation in terms of some of these claims and reimbursement claims, and because I just feel that some of these grants are just completely unwarranted based on the level of damage from what I've seen compared to very, very affected municipalities. Thank you, Mayor. That's all this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Scharfenberger?
Hey, thank you. Just a few things. I'd also like to commend Ted Maloney and his staff at DPW and the contractors too, who really did a great job. People are not shy about letting you know when things don't go well, and I got a lot of compliments from neighbors and friends around town and how well things ran. And they also commented about the alerts, how much they appreciate them and how informative they are. So that really is good. And I just have to point out that if this global warming gets any worse, we're all going to freeze to death. The other thing is you may have read that the library board has hired a new library director, and we're absolutely ecstatic about it. She has tremendous credentials. She seems to be, to put it in the government parlance, to be a fiscal hawk, and we're very excited about having her at the helm. I think the library has a great and bright future ahead of it, and we're really pleased that this has been settled and look forward to great things from her. And just one more thing about the flood insurance. Tony Fiore and I are still in the process of scheduling a trip to Washington, D.C. to meet with Congressman Chris Smith and his staff. And we've engaged him already, but enlist his help, maybe meet with some of the FEMA folks down in Washington to see if we can help get some relief from these looming increases that we see coming down the pike. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'm going to echo the sentiments of my committeemen, colleagues. With regard to the snow removal, did an excellent job in a very short period of time. In fact, when I looked at the weather report this past Sunday, I said it's going to be fine for the next 5 days. I went ahead and got my car washed. Well, no one knew that the storm was coming, so that's how quick a response that we had here in town, and I want to thank Ted and his team for achieving that. Just to add to Committeeman Fiore's comment with regard to Middletown as being one of the 50 most safest towns to live in New Jersey, the towns, in order to make that list, it had to have more than 15,000 residents, so it certainly wasn't any small towns that were on the list. As the committeeman mentioned, we were one of the largest there. And lastly, to put in perspective, the money, Middletown is one of the hardest hit again for Superstorm Sandy, and our rateable loss was about $20 million, our rateable loss. Now, when you put that in perspective with the amount of money that other towns like Hoboken did receive at $70 million, it's not, doesn't even come close. So some things are certainly not correct, and we can make certain that we get as much as we can from FEMA for Middletown. And that's all I have for today, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief tonight. I would also echo most of the sentiments of here by the gentleman, and I'd also like to thank the administration, DPW, OEM, the fire department, EMS, long hours manning the emergency operations center that we had set up well into the evening and early in the morning the next day. And Ted, also, if you commend the guys on the ground as well, I know that they worked very hard, and we do appreciate it. It was done very well. Secondly, the only thing I'd like to mention in addition is the resolution tonight that we did pass on the agenda in support of other municipalities, which is 1471. Just to mention, the effort continues for municipalities to band together in the wake of Superstorm Sandy, and this one in particular referred to a 6-month extension for renters relief. For those affected, and towns like Union Beach, Seabright, and Oceanport have joined with us, have reached out to us to reach out to our legislators to help ameliorate the situation. So that's all I have tonight, and I think, are we ready to move on to public portion? Is there any member of the public who would wish to speak? Yes, ma'am. Yes, just come up to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes, and if you exceed that, we can certainly stay with you after the meeting and continue to speak. No worries.
My name is Jennifer Valencia, and my address is 3 Arrowhead Court. Last night, the planning board heard an application from the developers of Trinity Hall for a location on Chapel Hill Road. And the owners of the Trinity Girls School, I think it's LLC. And they're requesting to develop a school on campus on Chapel Hill Road. And a good many of us concerned neighbors showed up last night in the school. And I started the petition, and really, there are a lot of concerned neighbors. The petition's been live for less than 48 hours, and there is in excess of 100 signatures now. I only expect that to double or triple in the next few days. We were all kind of saddened to hear that the board's hands are kind of tied by these objective standards when considering a conditional use property like that area is. We were hoping that they could consider things such as our property values and the quality of life, but we understand that the law is what it is, and after having a chance to regroup and think about it myself, I realized that it shouldn't stop the board from considering the factors that affect our property value and the quality of life. And the 2 big factors that I've heard being discussed amongst our neighbors are traffic and environment. And the board, I think, did an excellent job of reviewing and critiquing Trinity Hall's proposal, their traffic study. and what it lacked. And I think that the majority of neighbors couldn't agree more. Chapel Hill is a small two-lane road, and what they're proposing is going to add hundreds of cars. And you just don't have the infrastructure for that traffic. A child died on that road last year, and it's completely improbable to introduce that many new cars and new drivers onto that street. So we also have a small bridge that runs through it, that large trucks that are proposing and buses to go, the second factor is the environment. I know that we protected birds in the parent, and the current environmental impact report just makes note of it. It's very conclusory in determining, but it's not going to impact it. It doesn't say why or how. It's insufficient, completely insufficient. There's deer. This morning I walked 6 deer in my yard. As soon as that project begins, I don't know what's going to happen with the excess. And there's also a stream that runs through that property. And there's a lot of debate as to how that stream is being classified. And I think what we need the board to do is to demand more information and better, more objective information.
You mean the planning board?
The planning board. And what I want our elected officials to do is to think about our concerns and apply that pressure and gather that, help us gather that.
Ms. Valencia, if I could just interject for a second. Because the planning board is quasi-judicial, so to speak, and are appointed by the governing body, I don't want you to leave here thinking that we're not answering you and the attorney can validate this, but we really can't comment on a pending application or put pressure on any planning boards. We have a mayor's designee, obviously, and we have a class 3 official who is on the planning board, but we really can't give you, so I just want to let you know that we really can't answer anything for you about, I'm just letting you know.
It's an opportunity for one member of the planning board.
But your forum that you were at last night is the right forum to address
At
that.
last night, we weren't given an
Well,
opportunity.
you will at certain,
Well, actually, last night, and I'm not going to comment on the application or anything of that nature, but last night, specifically with regard to portions of the application, the public did speak at the direction of the chair, so twice. The public,
Remember about that question?
the public spoke on the application specific to witnesses. That was part
We
of...
were given an opportunity. to
Sure,
ask questions.
sure. And typically, in terms of general procedures and policies, the general public are given 2 opportunities to speak. One specifically with regard on a per witness basis. So questions, the chair will permit the public to speak on questions with respect to that witness and that witness's testimony only, and ask questions. The other time that you'll get to speak is at the end of the application, where you can, you don't have to ask a question, you can make a statement, an observation, things of that nature. So in fact, you have 2 very specific times to speak on any application.
Yeah, we can stay around until later, though.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to answer, you can sit down, but I just want to add something to it, that everything you said, is very compelling, but keep in mind that these are the kind of things, if you have evidence that there are environmental problems and things like that, or environmental issues, you can bring that to the planning board. The DEP in this state, and it's been well documented, is very, very rigid as far as enforcing their rules. So DEP are no pushovers in these instances. So it's always good to remember that you do have a voice, but it's important to come with facts. If you tell them, gee, the deer have nowhere to go, that's not a compelling enough reason, and that may actually, sort of set you back. But if you come with real hard and fast environmental issues that you believe are there, DEP will certainly follow up or have to tell you why they're not an issue.
Most of us just learned about this 2 days ago.
Okay,
and
we-
we're gathering facts.
I just want to make that statement, okay, just so you're aware. Because just saying you don't want it is not enough. There has to be, compelling reasons, otherwise you get sued. And we up here, know that that's the reality we live with. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would wish to make a comment? Just your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Yackins. I live at 3 Mohegan Drive. I'm here this evening to voice concern on the record over the proposed Trinity Hall High School development to be located on Chapel Hill Road, which is currently as an application before the Township Planning Board. After reviewing the information provided as a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, and listening to the proposal last evening, I do not believe that the design and the environmental impact report submitted by the developers of Trinity Hall High School adequately prove the proposed conditional use will not negatively impact the neighborhood or the health, welfare, and safety of the community. In fact, it is quite the contrary. If this development is allowed to proceed, it will negatively impact the neighborhood and community. The neighborhood was meant and zoned as a low-density, single-family residence. This private school will not benefit the township or neighborhood as its facilities, fields, and organizations will be private. While this application may adequately lay out on the property in terms of zoning and setback and lot coverage, the orientation of the buildings and athletic fields will negatively affect the surrounding neighborhoods. The proposed development completely contradicts the recommendations that were included in the 2002 McLeese Creek planning study that was prepared by T&M Associates. In the report, the experts recommend that the development on this property be limited to no more than 5-acre parcels, and further recommends that this property be limited to 1 unit for 3 acres with 50% of the lot coverage remaining as open space. Furthermore, the October 2004 Middletown Township Master Plan, which was adopted by the planning board in the township, recommends the following. The township should pursue, and this is a quote, and implement the density recommendations of the McLeese Creek study prepared by T&M Associates. The area of the township contains some of the most fragile and environmentally important features of our region, and heightened protection in this area is in the general interest of the community, end quote. Why is this recommendation being ignored? In terms of socioeconomic impacts, as a chartered private parochial school, the community will not realize any added tax benefits if this development moves forward. The school will unfairly add stress to the township services and infrastructure while paying no taxes. The surrounding township residents will be left to fill the tax bases and are potentially exposed to tax increases. Property values could adversely be affected as the construction of a private secondary school will eliminate the possibility of any construction of brand new homes, which would be the highest and best use and increase tax property values. In terms of traffic concerns, Chapel Hill, while not originally planned as a major artery, has become a central thoroughfare over the last 30 years. Chapel Hill Road is narrow, currently overutilized, and rapidly decaying. At several locations, it reduces to a point of no shoulder. Traffic consistently backs up to Route 35, as everyone's well aware, and Kings Highway and the Chapel Hill intersection is up to maneuver. While the traffic counts and mitigations presented last evening are certainly suspect, it is certain that adding volumes that accompany normal and extracurricular activities of secondary school will only further adversely impact traffic volume, flow, and safety. In terms of infrastructure, overtaxation of the utility grid in Chapel Hill is certainly a certainty if this is approved. While the planning board noted that utility service integrity is outside of their jurisdiction, and I could appreciate that, the township did not ignore the fact that Chapel Hill is consistently affected by power outages, and sanitary sewer, gas, domestic water service are all aging and have barely kept up with low-density development in the area. I speak for myself and several residents who cannot attend this meeting when I state the proposed plan is not in the best interest of the taxpaying residents of Middletown. I hope that the board, that the committee,
Are there any other members of the public wishing to make comment?
My theory,
Hi.
what's
Your address, please?
We will apply the capital measure. Yeah, I was here last night, and I do just want to let the township community know there were a lot of people. But this did kind of come out of the blue, which is really upsetting. So what's in the paper on December 5th? I'm just, a weekend after Thanksgiving. Nobody really knew about it, but it seems like it's so far along. That's one of the, I don't know how I can actually do it. I guess what we would like to know is what we can do besides speak out the benefit and try to find, ways to tell you what's wrong with it. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's in the best interest of everyone, as he said. He pretty much said it all, so not a lot of help. And the other thing I would like to see is that it preserved as farmland preservation of the state. You have a lot of people who love to preserve it. There may be a way to do it. And the stereo stream comes straight through it. And I am in contact with the community of New Jersey based people. I'm meeting someone there tomorrow to get more information about it. And we will bring it back to you. But there's a lot of people very upset about it. And there's some reason for this town. I mean, I feel like people need that. And there's so much development pressure from the admin property, also where the cows are, and things like that, sugar property. So those are places that are going to be developed right next to it. So you're going to cut down trees, the air quality is going to be affected. I mean, air, water, noise, light pollution, it's all stuff I don't want to know. It's not going to change the nature of our community. So I hope that something the township community can do, even though it needs to.
We can't do anything. It's a planning board decision, so we can't even comment on it. So I hear what you're saying, and there's a specific guideline to the planning board as to notification and people within 200 feet, Tony? 200 feet and things of that nature. I mean, it's the board last night has the authority over it. We actually would jeopardize.
Is there a way to, when you have this state of emergency, you get the phone call, is there a way to do that instead of?
Not for planning.
Maybe we should change the way you
The notices are statutory.
Right.
It's specific, all of this is specifically dictated by the municipal land use law, which is explicit as to how these notices are done, when they have to be done, how they have to be done. And it's not done by the township, it has to be done by the applicant under the municipal land use law, okay? And it's all a matter that's before the planning board. The only thing that the municipality has control over is the zoning and the master plan, but once an application is submitted, you can't change that. It's locked in at the time of application. That was a law change, you could talk to the legislature about that, they just changed that law a couple of years ago. So once that application is filed, there's nothing the township committee can do to change the rules after that application is filed, so to speak. No, it's locked in at the time of application. Whatever the rules are, that date that that application shows up in the planning office, for the address of the planning board secretary, the zoning board secretary, those are the rules that apply on that date.
Yeah, but we adopted a rule that said, besides these letters that are going to go out, we're also going to get a phone call.
You can't change the towns over the years have tried to strengthen the notice requirements, like some have said, well, how about maybe it should be 500 feet instead of 200 feet, maybe it should be 20 days notice instead of 10 days notice. You can't do it. It's specifically spelled out in the law, and the applicants are entitled to use the notice provisions in the law. But, yeah, it's municipal land use law. And the thing you got to understand is applications, particularly bigger ones like this, they take many, many months to go through the process. So even though you may not have had a lot of time to hear about the first hearing, also the first couple of hearings are usually the applicants going through a lot of testimony and witnesses. Then neighbors or interested parties then have their turn to present evidence and testimony and facts as to why it should or shouldn't happen. So it's a long process, and the planning board operates under very, very specific rules and procedures in hearing these applications. This isn't the first big application they've ever dealt with. And so there's a process for that. The township committee can't get involved in it. You mentioned open space and it should be bought, you know. Years ago, the township tried to buy that property when they were doing a lot of open space acquisition, when they first adopted their open space or their open space preservation plan many years ago. Property owners not interested and wouldn't sell the property. In fact, they came and applied for subdivision. So there's 19 houses approved for that property now. So they had no interest then in selling it and preserving it for open space. And they obviously have no interest in that now. So that attempt was made. And now the open space money is just not available like it was back then. So the prospects of buying that property are zero.
I heard it was going to become available.
It's not going to be available. It's just not going to happen. Not in any large amounts for, you're talking about multi-million-dollar properties.
Partnerships like we did with the property.
Right, we could talk about something out of very, very different magnitude on a property like this. And also, just one thing, you know, people have said, well, this is a residential area that wasn't anticipating this. Finding a school in town is not in a residential area. All schools are in residential areas. Right. What I'm saying, though, is that schools are supposed to be in residential areas. That's where they go. No, finding a private school is not in a residential area. Every private parochial, it's all residential around there. It's got surrounded by houses on both sides. And so the point is that all schools are in residential. That's not an unusual thing. Now, if there are specific impacts on the property that you can point to, those are legitimate issues for the planning board to deal with. But the issue of should it be there at all, that's not really an issue because that's where schools go. They go near residential neighborhoods. Virtually every school in town, private, parochial, public, is in a residential neighborhood.
Seems it is.
Well, it does when it's near you, but you know they're all that way. You know, they're in neighborhoods. That's where schools belong.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to move on. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Ms. Baum?
Lynn Bell, 19 Main Court. Just a few comments. I had missed the December meeting, and the December 16th meeting, there was a resolution 13-314, and it made reference to a bylaw change for the Bay Shore Senior Citizens Housing Court. But the resolution actually referred to it incorrectly as the Middletown Housing Court, and I just pulled that up. I wanted to let you know the conduct of the meeting. So I wanted to let you know now, it's still on the list that way, it hasn't been corrected. So it's a little bit confusing for anyone looking at it, because we go to other housing organizations in the town, so you want to correct that. Also, at the Economic Development Forum last October, there was mention of a survey that was sent to businesses seeking their input and recommendations for how things may be improved with regard to economic development in the town. So I was wondering the status of responses and if any actions have been taken.
We didn't do that yet. We're working on the survey now. We haven't sent it out.
It hasn't been sent out. You mentioned last October, it hasn't even been sent out. What's the expectation date for when that will be?
I don't have a date, but we'll be meeting with the Economic Development Committee in the February meeting. Probably going over a draft of the questionnaire.
Does that body meet monthly or quarterly?
They typically meet monthly, but if there's no business, then they might not meet.
Okay. So you said February. One of the comments was in regard to Christmas trees. I remember some towns did last year, especially on the East Coast, they used those Christmas trees to help create dunes, and it's a very effective program from what I've heard. So I'm wondering if there was any initiative to do that in Middletown. Might be a little late now. Most people probably got rid of them. any thoughts on who's used?
Like where?
Along the beach areas.
The dunes in North Middletown and Fort Monmouth are being rebuilt by the DEP under an active program this year. And the beach area in the harbor is private property, so we couldn't do trees. But we couldn't do it. People did. In fact, people did do it, but it's their own private property. We don't have access to that.
Okay, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Tracy Lewis, and I'm at 45 Main Terrace. And I just have some questions. I know a lot of changes were made to Croydon Hall to make the site desirable for Trinity School. They were going to make ADA compliant, that was going to save Middletown a lot of money. I'm wondering, did they make those changes that, so we benefited? Do we know what's going to happen to Croydon Hall once Trinity loses? Because the Department of Recreation left, the Department of Health left, and Crossroads is also. We did a lot of things to try to make Trinity School, that area desirable for them. What do we know what we're going to be doing with Croydon Hall now?
Wait. We didn't do anything to make the area desirable for them. They decided to lease the building and make the building in compliance with the upgrades we mentioned.
Okay. But we had to get out of there. So I was just, well, now it's been a Trinity School,
But when you talk about, if you're talking about the Crossroads getting out of McLeod Rice, which, I've been kind of cast as the deciding factor behind that, which isn't necessarily correct. That McLeod Rice building, the historical commission was in there. There were issues in terms of safety of that building. So my point is, Trinity Hall aside, the odds are that Crossroads was leaving that facility. So I just want to be clear about that, because I know Mr. Slover has.
just in the basement.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. That's what I'm just curious about. I was just wondering the future of Croydon Hall. And when I say Croydon Hall, I mean the whole development. I guess when I say Croydon Hall, there's Croydon Hall, but then Trinity School is in, that's not called Croydon Hall?
The whole campus is Croydon
It's
Hall.
Croydon Hall.
But there are different buildings. There's a gymnasium, there's a senior center, there's the old school building, and there's the house, the McLeod Rice house. So there are multiple uses there. Once Trinity leaves, we will have to decide. We will have to decide what the future is. It'll continue to be a township park. It's probably one of our heaviest used parks, and it still is. But what the future use of that particular building, it's only occupying that one building. What the future use of that hasn't been determined.
Green Acres would also have to approve that.
I'm sorry,
Green Acres would also have to approve that.
Who's going to go?
Green Acres, yes.
Okay. And how long is the lease? How long does Trinity have that location for? How long? 2 more years.
No, 2 years.
Full.
They've already been in almost a year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to address? Yes, sir. Hi, just your name and address for the record, please.
Mark Stockford at 58 Golden Drive. Just want to make sure that the township is aware of a Oxford House that is looking to open right behind the Plaza School. And I was wondering what the township was planning to do to make sure that this is fully within compliance of the laws, and what is going to be done for security for the school.
Administrators.
Well, with regard to the compliance, the law dictates how facilities such as that are to be treated, and the state law says that municipalities are to treat them like single-family homes. So whatever rules would apply to a single-family home would apply to that facility. So we can control and regulate and enforce the number of occupants, just like we could at your house or at my house or any house. But beyond that, we don't have any authority. We can't treat it differently. So the law is pretty crystal clear on that. They don't need our permission to do anything. They simply are occupying the structure as any other homeowner could. And that's the limits that the law places on us.
To expand upon Mr. Mercantante's comment, I live on Upper and Carpenter in River Plaza. I have twins. So it's especially very close to home for me. But here's at the moment, and as this progresses, we're going to do everything that we can do with property that either we own or the Board of Education owns to make certain that the children are safe on properties that the government entities control. Right? And those types of discussions have begun in terms of reviewing the perimeter of the school property.
There's no fencing behind the school at all, so.
That's my point. So those conversations have already begun in terms of strengthening the perimeter of the property, making certain that we have administrative measures in place to keep the children safe. So although there is nothing that the state and federal government will permit us to do with respect to that particular house and user, there is everything that we can do with respect to strengthening our properties and properties that we control in conjunction with the Board of Education. So,
Is there anybody that's willing to possibly meet? There's a lot of parents that are upset. There's a lot of stuff going on.
I met with the head of the Parent-Teacher Association from River Plaza School last week with the school principal and a couple of other people from the Board of Ed. And what I explained to them was that I was going to be meeting with the operator of the facility to try to learn more about the specific operation and facts.
Well, my understanding is that it's sort of a hands-off operation that the residents.
Well, that's exactly why.
Residents kind of run the residents, which is.
See, that's exactly what everyone says. Everyone has a.
It's on the Oxford House website.
I know that, but what I'm saying is, none of us have the facts. None of us have actually spoken to anyone who's actually involved in the specific operation of the facility. I plan to do that.
Has anybody reached out to Rumson? Because Rumson's
Well, Rumson's also,
All you have to do is read the paper.
right, Rumson's also in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit right now over.
That's not a reason for us to put our heads.
No, it is, actually it is.
It's not.
Because
We
we don't
fact
have
is,
jurisdiction.
the fact is, as I said, I'm meeting with the person on Monday. After I meet with that person, I'll meet with the school again and representatives of the Parent-Teacher Association and tell them what I learned and what we know about the factual basis of the operation. And then at least people will be as informed as you could possibly be about it.
So
There's really no facts.
it's important for us, again, to learn as much as we can learn with regard to the operation of the facility, to get you the proper information, because without the proper information, you're going to do exactly what you
I
said.
totally understand that.
Right.
High to some,
Right.
but there's also, it's an old property, to make sure that the property itself is safe for this facility to open up. I appreciate that the township does everything to make sure that it's part of the operation and looking out for the house is actually safe. We go in there.
The ability,
That
we can do, because the ability of the township is with the certificate of occupancy, which changes on a per user, correct, Tony, per user. So we do have that ability to make sure the house is safe for any occupants, not only those specific occupants of that organization.
Mayor, can I just add one thing very quickly? While our hands may be legally tied, we don't have to like it. And I'll speak for myself. I think it's outrageous that municipalities, local municipalities who work, represent, and live here have no say in where these facilities go. We're forever dealing with these mandates, be it COA, be it these sort of things, and it is outrageous. So I'll let it go with that, and it's very frustrating to have to sit here and take these mandates and have zero say in it except to, hold them to the C of O standards and that sort of thing. So it is frustrating.
And we all have young children up here. We all, and we're aware of
I
what's
don't think
going on.
anybody wants this, but I understand where your head is somewhat high. I would just like to, as much as we put into the school for fencing, security.
I would say also they have a meeting Monday night. They have a head of security, Mr. McGuire, Lieutenant. here in our police department, very, good guy, capable guy. I would definitely also ally their concerns.
And like I said, it would be great if somebody from the township, I know the parent teacher organization, there's a lot of parents that are upset, a lot of parents that probably feel a little more comfortable if they could meet at the school and have somebody from the town that they come and say, hey, decide what you're going to do. There's somebody's listening, is to, because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of angry people, and it's starting to get a little out of control and there to be stuff.
We want to be able to get you the right and the most accurate information first. And as soon as Mr. Mercantante can do that, we will make sure that you have representation from the governing body there. And in fact, I would like to be there as well, make sure that everyone understands what it is that we know, this way you know what we know, and what it is that we can do to strengthen the properties we own.
Am I to understand that the property owner is renting this property out to this organization, or is it?
You know what, why don't you can stay afterward, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to come forward? Yes, sir.
My name is Tom Marino, 6 Iroquois Drive, and basically I have concerns with the school, Trinity. I was here last night. Anything that I really would have to say would just be kind of redundant to, what's been also said, but I do have a question for the committee in terms of, our concerns with the school, with that private school, and I know they're coming back with a further analysis in terms of traffic and a few other things that the board asked for. But I was told that we would come down here and express our concerns. So I was wondering, kind of like what happens with that? With some of the people that express concerns, brought up information, what happens next?
Well, the planning board is, as you know, an independent body from the township committee. So, you're certainly free to express your concerns, and we've all noted them. But that is a separate board. That really is the proper forum for a lot of the issues that are coming, that we're discussing right now.
Obviously you're free to speak about whatever issue you would like before the governing body, but it doesn't affect the application here. Legally, your comments and evidence presented or cross-examination of any of the witnesses presented by the applicant establishes the record before the planning board. So that's what the planning board has to govern its decision on, and if there's a denial or or an approval that gets challenged in court, it's going to be the record before the planning board that's admissible in court, nothing that's said here. So that's the one that really counts. Now, obviously, making your opinion known is good, and the governing body can look at that as to future planning and ordinances and so forth. But as to the specific application, there's nothing the governing body can do with respect to any testimony you'd like to proffer before the governing body. It's not testimony, it's just comment.
Right. So my question is more, it's, my ignorance of the process, so I'm not sure.
Fair.
Your purpose is...
Because I see a number of
The problem is that if the township committee, we've been down this road before, committees of the past. If we were to even say anything about it and prejudice the application, we actually put the application in for more jeopardy than would be, it's more harm than good. So we actually can't. We have a representative, as I mentioned before. We have a class 3 official, Mr. Severino represents the board on that. But we really can't, as Mr. Nelson said, you can give your opinion and you can weigh on future things that we do, but we can't take any action. So I just want to set the expectation that, while we may have our feelings, which could, ally or whatever, but we would actually, we can't take any action or do any pressure, which is kind of what the expectation would be by coming.
Okay, and I
It's just
wasn't sure if you had
the-
oversight or anything over that.
We have a member, and anything we would do above that would actually probably be bad.
What is a class 3 official?
It is a government, a township official. I mean, one of the members of every body.
There's just different classes of seats on the board, and that's.
Sorry, I should have. It's our representative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing no members of the public, I move to close the public session.
You got one more there.
Leo.
Can't shut Leo out.
Peter Christopher, 121 Cranberry Court. I was at the freeholders afternoon meeting, wanted to be there this evening, but the wisdom of this governing body was to have a meeting transferred to tonight, so I figured I'd come over and speak my mind on a couple of things. One is, which I presented to the freeholders in the last two meetings, including the afternoon meeting. The first of two things I propose that to the freeholders and to this governing body that they start discussing, dialoguing, and putting in a draft form, some resolution that would repeal all laws involving public sector unions, any and all kinds, including the police, although I'm ignorant in that area, that all such unionization involving labor management disputes be repealed so as to repeal all binding arbitration. So we get it back to where things were, I guess, before 1970, when they didn't have such laws in New Jersey, and the federal government didn't have such laws until John Kennedy had them enacted. I don't know if it was an executive order or not. John Kennedy, President Kennedy, put into place federal unionization, but he did not allow negotiation of their employment. He allowed them to protect their jobs, not to negotiate in terms of salaries, benefits, pensions, and all that business. Ronald Reagan fired, as you know, people in the FAA in the towers because they struck. They went on strike. He said, good. You broke the law, you out of here, and they were out of there. I intend, of course, to follow up on this by calling my representatives in my, I think, the 13th district, 3 people. And the second thing I think has to be thought out. Nothing radical, it's just trying to make government streamlined and simple. Some people might think it's radical, good for them. Revolutions means things just go in a circle. So we could have another little resolution and actually circle back the way to simpler things. And I would recommend that we consider the second thing, having a senior moment right now.
We can talk later. We can talk after the meeting.
Okay. The first one was meaty enough.
Yes, it was. It was great. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am. I saw her first, I'm sorry. You'll be next. Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Lyon. I actually live in I do with my son and a couple of other students from communications, and they're required to attend the council meeting, so they're all here, and they would like to be able to take a selfie with you all.
We can stick around.
Yeah, we'll be around. Great.
We'll stay on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't be embarrassed.
As mentioned several years earlier, we proposed to all school districts do a location, do a more specific, but as mentioned by Mr. Yakins, it was adopted or it was mentioned in the budget, right, 2010 years ago, that this town adopt the recommendation of 15 associates, and I would ask that those recommendations be implemented, despite the fact that there is a proposal and rules. We have R90 zoning for that parcel at the moment, which recommended that parcel be zoned R220, and I would ask that that be, so if this proposal goes through as is, so be it, but if not, the next time this proposal comes through for that parcel, that the zone will be protected.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing no members of the public, I move to close public comment.
Second, sir.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Casell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpsburger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray. President Reno.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn.
We have it. So.
Students, you can clap.